Friends, if you're looking for real old school laughs, you're in for a treat because we've got them right here. Flip City Magazine. Remember MEAD magazine? Then it went woke? Well, don't worry. Flip City has no chance of going woke. That's right. 4 times a year, you'll get an actual printed magazine full of jokes, stories, comics, and more, all about today's pop culture, entertainment, and woke politics. Flip City takes terrible entertainment trends we love to hate with hilarious parodies of Lord of the Rings, Stranger Things, The Walking Dead, Star Trek, Hunters, and more. Trust me when I say there is nothing else like Flip City on the market. So subscribe today. It will be delivered in print, or you can even get it digitally if you're one of those wacky Zoomers. Either way, follow our link and sign up today, and if you put in midnight, you get an extra 10% off. Check out Flip City Magazine today. Just a reminder, folks, you can get a special right now over at Flip City. You get a bonus issue. Check it out, kids. All right. Welcome to the program, everybody. Hope everybody's having a wonderful, wonderful evening. I am Tom Connors. It's time for some Midnight's Edge After Dark. That's right. We got with us Script Doctor here. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Happy to hang out with you guys tonight. Interesting topics that we had behind the scenes. I can't wait to pick them up and let you guys know what we were talking about.
Yeah, you guys were just talking. I'm just like, well, let's just save this for the show. Speaking of Canadians, we have CC Karaoke in the house. How you doing?
Yeah, we were just talking about Doctor Who, and then Tom was like, well, we should probably talk about it on the stream. So that's looking forward to talking about that shit show. Spoiler alert, it wasn't any good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the Doctor Who's. Good show.
See, now you got to bring in Frank Marshall.
Wait, what? Who's that?
Oh, just some guy.
Some cracker.
He actually is. Technically,
Yes,
he is.
Yeah, he is. Oh, Jesus.
Don't forget to put pants on.
I'm hiding. Because if KK finds me, she's going to make me make another Indiana Jones movie. I don't want to. Okay? So don't tell her me. I'm just going to go hide in the bathroom. You're not fucking funny. I'm watching you, motherfucker. All right. We also have with us Price of Reason. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. How are you, man?
I'm doing all right. It's been a long day already. I've been on just tons and tons and tons of streams, and I've just been informed we're still toxic femininity, so I got to change that.
I think we're all feminine enough here, aren't we?
Feminine enough here, yes.
Oh,
we are.
Certainly toxic enough.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you must have been streaming, Tom, for almost 7 hours straight today.
Damn near it. I had a couple breaks in between, but not much. Not much. But yes, we also have Clobberin Times. How you doing, Clobberin Times?
Hey, buddy, what's up? Thanks for having me here. Good to see you, my friends, on the panel and our friends in the chat. I'm trying to talk like Neil had Patrick Harris with that strange accent he had as the toy maker. No, he was actually. I thought he was kind of funny, at least as the character. It was kind of crazy.
I like Neil Patrick Harris.
He's the only really kind of funny thing in it. It was an interesting take on the toy maker. But we certainly weren't going to bring Michael Gow back, even if he had been we're still with us. Considering the controversy, as our British friends say, on that role that he played. But he was. I thought he gave a fun performance with he affected this really. The accent was tough not to, to, if you'll pardon the pun, giggle at. Yes, the name of the episode is The Giggle. And his performance as the character, that much was enjoyable. But he's always fun. He's great as the music meister on Batman, the animated Batman Brave and the Bold. So, yeah.
Interesting. So yeah, Andy, I'm living on a prayer, my friend. I'm living on a prayer, and I'm halfway there. You're not in the main group, are you, Andy? I should just put you in the group. But if you're not at the gym or doing some daddy stuff like you always are, I sent you the link in case you want to pop in here and talk some Doctor Who. We're also going to talk some action movies here in a bit. But yeah, so you guys saw Doctor Who, most of you. I didn't.
It stinks.
It stinks.
Yeah, it does.
I'm here to review Doctor Who 12.
Dr. Billion, you mean?
72.
The biogeneration. Yeah, to me, it was just it was an absolute horrible disgrace. The things that forget the story or everything. The first two stories I didn't like at all. Some people like those first two stories of these 3 episodes. I didn't like them very much. And of course, there was all the wokey and all the canon breaking. He was giving you a choice throughout the 3 of these, Mr. Davies. You could be disgusted as a Doctor Who fan by the wokey crap, and occasionally he would switch it. I'll give him some credit. He'd switch it to canon breaking, lore breaking crap that you could get pissed off at. So he's really giving you like a lot of choices there. Or he was keeping some balance to it, I would say. And then of course the third one comes along. It's the one that, in terms of just story, felt more like a Doctor Who episode and had some fascinating ideas, like some of the better Doctor Who episodes of this era, which I'm not that fond of, or the later era, his era. But it's just every time, it's very difficult to get engrossed in it because he not only dumps on the lore in pieces throughout, he also he mixes the woke crap in with it. Like I said, first episode mostly woke crap. Second episode, mostly lore destroying crap. And this one, mix. It's a souffle of both of them, if you will. And he never gives you time to rest from either of those. Neil Patrick Harris, his performance is fun. Tennant, however, is not much fun because he's not the old Tennant Doctor that we all used to. He's a grim and just kind of worn out old codger of a doctor, and not in a good way, like a William Hartnell or something like that. Lots and lots of. He thinks a lot of the fan service that he puts in there, references, would probably make up for some things. They don't, because he's crapping on them. Fan service is fantastic. I love it as much as the next fan. If you're doing it well, and there are ways to do it well, and he does not. And then, but he's sort of these building blocks all the way through the episode to this crescendo of, hey, Doctor Who fans, if you love the show, like for me, for example, 41 years as a fan, or anything like that, you love the old one, well, ski-roo you. We're going to do what we want with it, and we're not going to retcon of the filthy, timeless children. We're just going to double down on it and make it even crazier with this bi-generation scene. It's also pretty lazy writing because now he's split the thing in 2. He's got a retired, sorry about the spoilers, folks, Doctor in the David Tennant Doctor, the one that is supposedly bazillions of years old, and then the new one, Ncuti. All right, I'm sorry if I'm not saying this. I'm not even trying to mispronounce the name. I still can't. All this time, I still can't figure out how to pronounce
Ncuti.
Ncuti, yeah. So I'm trying. I'm not really trying to even make fun of him or anything like that. I really don't get that pronunciation. But Ncuti Gatwa is he's just a different guy called the Doctor. He's not going to be the Doctor, and that's mainly because of Davies, not because of him. He didn't even have the guts to let one go, which is what you always do as a Doctor Who fan. When a Doctor regenerates, you let one go, you bring in another one. He didn't even do that, which we thought he was going to do. And he thought, he was so proud of himself, Davies, for that. This bi-generation concept, which is almost as preposterous as the Timeless Children trash itself. Not quite, though. And he left it in sort of this state of flux, not referring to that last miniseries a while back, to where now you have a quote-unquote, you have 2, because he also has 2 Doctors and 2 TARDISes. Yeah, yes. And he said in an interview, incidentally, for those going forward, he said, for those who like the hard science fiction elements of Doctor Who, which, by the way, it was never really fully hard science fiction. It was always fantasy-based horror with science fiction layers in it and stuff. He says it's going full-on fantasy now. And he proved that with the end of this episode, which is all magical silliness. And in the end, just kind of a slap to the face of the old fans, which, by the way, he's gleefully saying it. He's not hiding any of that. So I'll let someone else talk now. It is you're a longtime Doctor Who fan, though. And I can understand you wanting to see what the fate of the show, but if you avoid it, I can't blame you. I kind of wish I had. It is like seeing something that you love just absolutely ripped to shreds in front of your face and then dumped on by someone who hates it, who claims to love it but hates it, in my opinion. I'll leave the floor to someone else now.
I mean, I got the feeling like Russell T Davies was communicating his thoughts in this episode in the script, and it wasn't necessarily an awful idea in concept. He's taking a slap at modern times, with social media, and everybody is always right? That's
yes.
kind of the concept he throws at. Everyone's always right, and when everybody's always right and nobody's willing to be wrong, you're always throwing down your opinions on social media, and you can't be convinced otherwise. It turns into chaos. But it also, you get the feeling like he's not really taking a stance there that applies to everybody. It only applies to the people who are wrong, that they're always right, You get that quick little scene in HQ, which looks a lot like the Marvels.
You mean Avengers? Avengers HQ?
Yeah, exactly.
Unit Avengers headquarters.
Unit Avengers headquarters.
Yeah.
And this broadcast comes on the television where it's like, well, we can cure everybody, but we have these dissenters who don't want to take the cure and put the band on their arm. And I was like, oh, so it's like he's saying everybody's wrong. So everybody thinks they're right all the time, right? And then that is causing our society
Especially
to
him.
descend into chaos. But only the people who are actually wrong, despite the fact that they're right, are the ones who are the enemy. Whereas Russell T Davies himself, I get the feeling like he thinks that he's actually right and he's not wrong.
He has no self-awareness, dude. None.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. He's like, he's not really aware of the kind of irony of the story that he's written here. He's used the toy maker, and I feel like he is using the toy maker a bit to communicate these ideas. The toy maker goes on a whole spiel at the end too. Maybe I'm
if anybody has seen Russell T Davies online and the way he interacts with people he doesn't like, or he doesn't like their opinion, he's acting exactly like that thing he's supposedly criticizing.
Yes,
he gets
exactly.
upset at fans. He blocks them. He cancels everything that he claims is bad in this episode. All describes him. Which, if you saw my video earlier, I was kind of laughing at that in the video. That all of the things that are so bad, he isn't even aware that he is exactly that thing that he supposedly hates. In my opinion,
Price, you're exactly right. It's like it was the ultimate. I know you are, but what am I?
Right.
It's like the whole thing with toy makers games have rules, right? And I was saying this behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And that's the other kind of lack of awareness here. He's writing a story where that's based on the idea that yes, there are rules, and that does apply to Doctor Who. It applies to our modern myths and legends. There are rules in Doctor Who, and if you're going to write a Doctor Who story, you need to follow those. Otherwise, you're breaking the rules of the quote unquote game. You're not. Then you have chaos, and he's just willfully breaking all the rules of Doctor Who. And I don't know if it's worse than the Timeless Children in this episode, but it's another massive lore-breaking problem.
But it's bad.
It's hard to top the Timeless Children,
Yeah.
but having the Doctor split himself into two is also a really bad thing to do to the franchise, because
Yes.
it used to be that when he regenerates, that's considered sort of a final thing. You may see him in a special, but that's it. It's the next Doctor, it's the next actor. And the fact that now it's just, first of all, they had that he became a woman, and that whole era was really poorly written and poorly received. And instead of trying to go back to the basics, they brought back him, which in and of itself was kind of weird. And it's not like they did great once they brought him back. And then at the end, I was telling everybody here behind the scenes, it's kind of like Gremlins. Like when Gizmo shoots out another furball and there's another gremlin, then the Doctor is shooting out another Doctor. And I personally think that that really cheapens the franchise, the lore, the mythology. For so many decades, it was the longest running sci-fi franchise, and it had its own rules, and nobody cares about them anymore.
It cheapens every sacrifice.
Cheapens everything.
All gone. All gone. He really destroyed it. It was like after the seeming obliteration caused by the timeless children, you thought, well, there's nothing left to destroy, I guess. But there was some little piece of a building standing that like a couple little, shards of building that were actually upright. So this one, he says, oh, we forgot something. Boom, goes after those two. There's pretty much, there's nothing left that you could do that anyone would care, because everyone who would really care, and the ratings are horrible, by the way, or they were just gone, or just leaving it, or watch out of morbid curiosity at this point, which I admit I'm one of those that does that.
He had one shot. He had a shot, Russell D. Davies. He brings back Tennant. He does 3 episodes that are non-agenda based. Whatever his personal agendas are, not to put them in here. Just do 3 escapist, fun adventures, the kind that people enjoyed in the past, that he was capable of producing. Do a few of those, and I think that would have bought some fan goodwill. And instead, it just... He's not in the same place in life as he was, I guess, 15 years ago or whenever that was. He's now very much, he has all these awards. He sits around with all these kind of high-end people that like activism, and that's what his show looks like now. And it's really a shame, because he could have somehow saved this thing or done something to course correct, and it's almost like he didn't even try.
And then watch that little thing he released yesterday, or whatever it was. That was a snippet from this upcoming Christmas special with Ncuti. If you have any doubts of how bad this show's going to be,
looks awful.
Ooh, goblins.
That one looks like they ripped off the Gremlins. Like they tried to make Gremlins.
Oh man, dude, that's terrible.
They're singing. That thing was terrible.
Singing about eating babies. Yeah, that's
eating babies. Like Gremlins eating babies. That looked really, really bad. And I'm surprised that that's what they wanted to show people to get them excited.
Right.
It's a little Roald Dolly, actually, I found it. Like, it doesn't fit the tone of a... Well, I mean, it could fit the tone if it wasn't a musical number, like the way that they did it. Like, they made it a pop musical number as opposed to something that would feel more appropriate if it was a really haunting type of musical number.
Yes.
But even then, I say it's stretching.
It felt like I saw that clip, and it felt like they were trying to invoke like Labyrinth, and it just wasn't quite working.
Doctor is versatile, and then you can do dark, cool stuff and different crazy stuff like that. The problem is they don't look like they're doing it. They do it particularly well in this, what was it, 2-minute clip, and it looks really just cringy and too silly, even for Doctor Who, which can be silly in a good way many times. Used to be, and it could be silly, and you would like it. It'd be fun, but this, I don't know.
I don't mind this. I don't mind Gatwa as a Doctor, even. I mean, we'll see. When I saw him in the end of this episode, I was a little mixed, but I like his charisma. I like that he's got a lot of energy to bring to the role. He needs to put pants on.
Put pants on, please.
But kind of like Capaldi, it's not. You could have a good casting, but if the writing's not there, it's not going to matter. It's going to be wasted.
Yeah. Every scene I see him in Gatwa, and it's nothing personal against him, he's acting very kind of sexual, which is very weird. It's one thing to be charismatic as the Doctor. It's another thing that I said in my video, that anytime you see him on screen, it looks like he's in a late night movie on Cinemax or something. And that's not what you're supposed to be getting from the Doctor. And I don't know, maybe as an actor he can do not that, but somebody should tell him to stop doing that, because I don't think that's right for the character at all.
That's probably why he's a good fit for Davies. They seem to both like that.
Yes,
that
they like that very much.
Davies created a show. I'm not going to say the title because it wouldn't be good for the show. The Q as Folk. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. He created that show that was later copied in America, and it looks like he wants to do that with Who. That'll be Who is Folk.
Yeah, and I'm getting.
I hate that. I'm not trying to be funny. I think he does want to do that kind of thing with Doctor.
Like I said, I don't mind Gatwa, but you're right. It's like the Doctor. I like the Doctor to have charisma. I like him to have energy. I mean,
he has that.
I'm a big fan of Troughton, But
Yeah.
yeah, Troughton isn't overly sexualized. You know,
No,
in the role.
not at all.
None of them,
And,
even the
well,
later
yeah,
ones,
none of
really
them
are. Not even, even Tennant or Smith or Eccleston. Yes, they added, which I didn't like too much. RTD did add the sexual component to it, having like Rose, with her puppy love, and Martha with her being in love with the doctor, and that all kind of stuff. They did add certain things like that to it that was never on the original series of the first 26 seasons. But even still, the doctor still had that silliness where he wasn't. He didn't walk around, making sexy talk with women or that kind of crap. He was still just the doctor, his silly,
Gatwa is
hundreds of years
very
old Time Lord.
touchy-feely.
Yes, he was. Even in that little scene that we saw,
Every time we see him on screen, he's like petting people, hugging them, kissing them. It's a bit much for the doctor, in my opinion.
I think we're going to see that this coming season. If
Did he
for anybody
sniff
who
their
happens
hair?
to watch it, yeah.
Yep.
See, I sniff their hair, and it like makes magic powers in my pants. And I gotta correct y'all. It's not Doctor Who. It's Doctor Who with an M. Learn in English.
He's got his own TARDIS, of course, because that again, magic. Because he won the contest, he could just. But why was that Harley Quinn mallet in the TARDIS under a? Just on. I guess that was the way of getting his reward for defeating the toy maker or something. But it was so weird. It was like a cartoon. It was like a Warner Brothers cartoon. It's just got this big old stick that he could jack the TARDIS with it, hit the TARDIS, and create another TARDIS with it. What?
I heard you go blind if you do that.
Yeah, well, I wish I had.
Quit jacking your TARDIS.
His sonic screwdriver looks lame. It looks like a TV remote.
Someone said it looked like a butt plug. I don't know.
It does.
It does. It's so terrible. So it's weirder than Jodie's, but Jodie's is pretty lousy too. Everything about her is lousy. Yeah, but you're right, CC. He probably would be capable of playing just a normal doctor in a good way, good enough actor and stuff. But that's not the way Davies is going to direct him. I don't think, or have him do it.
He would need somebody to reel him in a little bit, because I do think, at least I get the feeling that Gatwa in real life is he is a little bit
flamboyant.
Yeah, sure, and I don't even mind that. But you're right, touchy feely. A little bit too much for the doctor. But he has that right playful element.
Right.
But
he's a good actor if he were directed to play the doctor just like a doctor.
Exactly.
Right. Probably, yeah.
But Davies isn't probably going to do that. Davies is going to be lean into your wants and needs and feels, and it's just going to completely go in that direction.
Sadly.
I think also what happened here is that with all the Disney money and the partnership with them, he sort of created this new path with Ncuti Gatwa. Even that clip that we saw of those gremlin type creatures singing or whatever it was, I think that they're trying to wow the Disney audience, or what they perceive to be the Disney audience. Not that I even know what their audience is these days, but they're trying to bring this to an American audience. I think they're trying to do something different with it. I don't think that longtime fans are going to like whatever he's doing here.
No, I don't think so either. He doesn't really care. Well, he'll care when they cancel it, but he's getting some Disney money, and he's calling it episode 1, the first one with Gatwa.
This is Disney Doctor Who.
Disney Who. It really is.
Disney Who.
Yep.
Well, the ratings will bear it out in search of the modern audience, right? I mean,
yes.
What are they getting, 4 million or something? And when you think of even just all the channels we may watch on YouTube, there's going to be millions of people that are watching and discussing these takes on what's happening with Doctor Who. Well, that's millions of people that are less than the 10 or 15 million that they were getting before.
And I don't think that American audiences even understand these newcomers that they want to bring, that they're going to bring this to them. I don't think they're going to get on board or even understand what this is. This show really needs to tap into its legacy and to its international fan base of generations. That would have been the right thing to do, but they keep making the same mistake over and over again. So I don't know why they keep doing it, but they just keep doing it.
I think you're right, though. I mean, if he just come out with these 3 episodes and laid off the message and just delivered 3 well-written, entertaining episodes, it wouldn't have fixed the problems, right? But it would have at least garnered some goodwill that could have not completely destroyed any hope of recovery. I mean, at this point, it's doubling, tripling down,
Yep.
Now, is this the last of the specials then, or?
Yes.
Except for the Christmas, unless you count the Christmas special, which will be all Ncuti. Should be Christmas Day, I understand.
Now it's the new Doctor. There's no more Tennant. It's only Ncuti moving forward. That's now his show.
Yeah.
And we'll see how that goes.
Except that Tennant and Donna are still alive and well and hanging out at the house. And
yes, they again. Usually, as we have talked about there, CC and Price, the Doctor. We traditionally we leave one Doctor behind. We're sad to see him go because we really love him. If you're a fan of the show, but you're also interested to see what the new guy's going to do. Oh, I said Guy. Oh, how terrible! I know. Anyway, Guy is going to do with the role, and that's the fun thing about the show. And that guy who takes over doesn't have to look over his shoulder and saying, "Well, I guess another me around there." Yeah, no, it's fictional, but still. It's all on him. He's got the role. It's his. Well, it must for Ncuti. I don't know. I can't speak for him. It must not feel that way now that they've left one of the most beloved Doctors alive. And another, just another version of himself. He split off from him. It's like, it's not. Did the mantle really get past you completely?
I think that this is an insurance policy. I think that they know they may need Tennant again in the future, and they're just like, let's keep him here. He's already in the mix, and if there's any kind of issues like there were with Jodie, maybe they bring him as a guest star, he joins, he does something. That's maybe why they're trying to set this up as some type of insurance policy.
Except you know what they would do if they actually had to bring him back for any more than like a guest appearance? They'd have to write into the plot somehow that he gains all of Gatwa's memories so that they don't abandon those plot lines and all the hard work that everyone did on those episodes. And look, I feel for people if their work becomes decanonized, that sucks. But at some point you got to get over it and move on, because that's what they'll do. They'll take Tennant and they'll put all of Gatwa's memories and all of his experiences right into Tennant,
probably,
and say, well, we'll just undo it.
There's slight precedent for what went on with Tennant. If you look at the 50th anniversary at the very end, when with Matt Smith Doctor meets the great Tom Baker as the quote unquote the curator of that, then we basically pretty much he tells us without telling us he really is a future Doctor who is retired, and he says you may revisit some of your old faces, but some of the old favorites, Who knows that scene, that wonderful scene?
Oh, yeah, I know that.
With Tom Baker, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, that could be like, who knows, this Tennant Doctor, this retired one and all that stuff later down the road.
That's the other thing. Like, I want to feel like that Baker guest appearance is the Baker from the Baker era at another point in his cycle. Instead of thinking, that's just a bi-generation Baker.
No. What they'll do is they'll do a bi-integration where they'll merge back together when they screw this up really bad.
Right, true. But no, it wasn't a bi-generation thing. It was sort of like he said, sometimes you revisit some of the old faces, but some of the old favorites. And at that point, there was precedent for it because, like I mentioned earlier, before we talked about the show, they're in Journey's End when, the 10th Doctor, quote unquote, the David Tennant Doctor, was shot by a Dalek and was regenerating, and even Rose was trying to get near him, and Jack saying, "Get back! You know what happens next. Everyone get back." He regenerates, but for some reason, his body stays the same. He doesn't change bodies, and he just says, "Oh, I can do that." They act like it's no big deal, but the regeneration power of the Doctor and the TARDIS get into the hand, his severed hand, and create the Metacrisis Doctor, and then of course create that problem for Donna's Time Lord brain. So. There's precedent there. He regenerated into himself. And then even later in Time of the Doctor, the Matt Smith said, I even regenerated myself once. Boy, I had ego issues or something. He made a crack about it. So yeah, I mean, he could go back to an old face.
Yeah, I like that. It's just like I was like, it's this difference in viewing the scene from that perspective and wondering which doctor that is and where they've been and where they're at in their journey, versus now it's just one of many like splits of the same doctor, because now there's what, like 10 or 15 doctors existing simultaneously. It's it takes away the gravity of all of those moments in that sense, if you're considering it all as canon. Which, hey, you know what? I kind of had to think this to myself. I was like, did whoever originally wrote that there's 12 doctors total? Makes me wonder if they weren't actually a time traveler from the future who knew what was going to happen and realized that Capaldi was in fact the final doctor. Therefore, they had to write it in the
Robert Holmes.
Yeah,
that was Robert Holmes who did that. So, and he was the best Doctor Who writer ever.
He didn't think the show would go on that long. That's the other reason.
Yeah. They just, but it was setting kind of a limit, after the 12th regeneration in the episode Deadly Assassin, the line, after the 12th regeneration, there's no going back, Doctor. And the Doctor even poo-poos that and says, I'm not the master. He would find a way. We're talking about the master.
Mm-hmm. So, and the master does find a way, apparently, right?
Yeah, he wastes all
regenerations.
He wastes all of his regenerations, and he used the power of the Keeper of Traken to steal Tremos's body in the Keeper of Traken episode, played by Anthony Ainley, which allowed him the Anthony Ainley to play the master. But yes, he was running out of regenerations because he was using them so fast. And the thing about Romana, she was a time she could choose any form she wanted because she was a Time Lord that was still not a renegade. She was in that Time Lord intelligentsia, and could just, when it was time for her regeneration, she got to choose what she looked like, which Time Lords can do if they're in control of their regeneration. But the Doctor, a lot of the times when he would regenerate, was because he was dying.
I think I liked Romana 2 better than Romana 1.
Romana 1's so hot though, man. Mary Tam, oh my God, it's beautiful.
Wait now.
Romana 1 was for the Key to Time series. Mary Tam, beautiful woman, no longer with us, sadly. Lala Ward, who married Tom Baker, she was Romana 2, and she was a cutie. I liked her, but
wait, let me look for a second.
Mary Tam.
You know what? I take that back. I think Romana 1 Romana 1 was actually the one that I preferred. I confused the two in my mind. Yeah, the one that married Tom Baker, she's okay. But I thought that Romana, the original Romana, was more interesting.
Very much so. Romana Drvatcher-Lindar is her full name. And he didn't want to pronounce Romana Drvatcher-Lindar all the time. So he said, I'll call you Romana. She said, it's either that or Fred. She goes, okay, Fred. She goes, all right, come on, Romana. And that's how she got the name Romana, but yeah.
Now I remember the second Romana had a better kind of chemistry with the actor, and that's probably why they ended up getting married in real life or whatever. But the first one, I think, had a better look.
She married him, for a short time. Then she married who's that famous British scientist, atheist, and I'm drawing a blank on his name. Pretty famous one. But
Richard Dawkins? I know.
Yeah,
which one.
Richard Dawkins.
Yes.
She did. She went from Doctor Who to a famous scientist.
She has a strange marriage record.
But I love the first Romana. I'm with you. The second one, Lella Ward was good. She was just different, obviously, but Well, we've Doctor Who'd everybody to death, I think, Tom. Are you eating tacos?
Yeah, I was about to say here a little bit ago, we got Nick S. who sends in $1.99. Says, Tom, Doctor Who saddens me. Play Baby Godzilla. I think I can accommodate you there. Here we go. All right, there you go. And thank you so much, Nick S, for the $1.99. Then we got Eric Kelly here who sends in $5. Thank you so much. So Doctor Who was canceled back in 1989 due to low ratings. Does the panel think that history will repeat itself on the current track of idiocy? Maybe.
It wasn't just low ratings. Michael Gray, the BBC controller at the time, hated Doctor Who with a passion. He hated sci-fi anyway, but he wanted it to be more like Star Wars, and he didn't have that kind of budget, so he hated it. And he had a vendetta. I mean, yeah, the ratings had some, definitely during the JNT, John Nathan Turner era, had suffered somewhat, but they were still halfway decent. They were, for depending on lots of shows they were making, and it was still an institution. But he used that as an excuse. He forced Colin Baker out before his time, and then after Sylvester McCoy's run, he was he just managed to kill it because he hated it.
It was a combination. On one hand, he wanted it gone, and on the other hand, those weren't the best years of that franchise, but certainly better than anything we see now. On Disney Plus, I mean, if this succeeds on Disney Plus, then they'll try to build it as something new for a new audience. But until now, Disney Plus doesn't have such a great track record. Most of the time when they try to build something there for a new audience, it kind of fizzles out.
They could have, continued though, and get another doctor somewhere in there and try and maybe make the ratings go up. I don't know, but he wouldn't care. He didn't care. He hated it. So
then we got Captain Fandom Nerd, who's been here for 31 months. Holy crap, Oli! Thank you for that, Captain Fandom Nerd. We appreciate the support here at the channel. Other than the Doctor Who news, there wasn't a whole lot going on today. So I decided, and I've lost it here because I didn't have it up here and ready to go again, to talk about this list, because we do our own lists on Sunday nights.
Cool. I love lists.
Yeah. Well, this is what that I think we're going to get a kick out of. Just recently, Rolling Stone, our favorite list makers, decided to do a list of the top 50 action films. So this is going to be a fun one, I think, for us to break down a little bit. Since there wasn't a whole lot going on today, I thought this would be a fun one.
Cool.
To go through.
Yeah, I dig lists, and Rolling Stone lists in particular are a little bit.
Woke.
Yeah. Remember when they did the top singers, and the top 10 singers of all time were all black women?
Well, in fact, I believe it was one of their lists that prompted us to do our list show to begin with. I remember right. I think it was their top superhero list. I remember. Okay. But Goddess of Women has been here for 31 months. Thank you for that, Goddess. Appreciate that. And Morgan King has been here for 27 months. Thank you for the support, guys. We appreciate all that you do here. And we do need to get a member stream going here real soon. But anyway, so let's get through this 50 best action movies of all time. Let's see what they think makes the list. Number 50, The Man from U.N.C.L.E., starring Henry Cavill. Newer film right off the bat.
Never saw it. Too much of a fan of the old show to watch that, but I hear people like it.
Yeah, here's the thing. I
wouldn't put in the top 50 though. I mean, that's the thing.
Exactly. Like, I don't know. I mean, script. Here's my thing: is I think a lot of films, you got to kind of give them a few years to breathe to see if they actually stick around. Yeah. No, I don't see people who evoke this movie.
I have seen as many people bring up The Man from U.N.C.L.E. as I have they brought up the movie Tenet. Or not Tenet, sorry, Inception. Since Inception came out. Like, that's how unregular it enters conversation outside of the YouTube sphere.
I bring up Inception quite a bit, but I hardly ever remember anybody inciting The Man from U.N.C.L.E. where we weren't already talking about Henry Cavill and Bond or something like that in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
He's no Napoleon Solo.
Yeah. So anyway, moving on from there. Here's one that should be on the list, but much
49.
higher.
Are you out of your
I knew you were lobbying.
What?
This should be within the top 5.
This is top 5, top 10 material.
Top
Easy,
10,
exactly.
Minimum top 10.
Where's the thing? 48?
Holy shit.
If it even makes a list.
If it's just action, I guess that's kind of movie, horror, science fiction, or whatever. But yeah.
Yeah.
I sometimes feel like they make these lists just to annoy people.
Yeah.
Yes. They
well, and that's kind of why we're doing it.
Talk about it.
Because when it's a personal list, it's one thing. Like if that's someone's personal favorite, no big deal.
Now, generally, how they do these lists. Let's see. They might even say how they did it in the beginning here. Go ahead and call it to Clobby. I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
No, I'm saying when it's just one person's opinion list, I have no problem with it. It's cool. I don't care what's on there. But this says the word best. It's not like these are my favorite top 50 favorites. You're saying best. I'm like, well, fine.
It only has one writer listed.
So
and he doesn't even say how he reached this list. Like he didn't say, I pulled my friends or did an online poll or going by certain ratings or what. He doesn't even specify from what I can tell. So anyway, he's just willy-nilly throwing his shit out there. All right. So Dead or Alive. Now this is one that this is a John Woo movie, right? Yeah. Not one that really
I haven't really seen this one.
Yeah.
I haven't seen this one.
This is him trying to flex his film knowledge muscles.
Yeah.
The Rock, way down at 47.
You like that movie? I was never like.
I would definitely put it in the top 50. So I mean, I guess it's placed possibly around
where it should be a little higher because it's
maybe
one of
a little
Michael
higher.
Bay films that doesn't feel like current day Michael Bay.
Not only that, it's the last Don Simpson movie, isn't it?
I probably could come up with 50 action movies that I really love. I mean, other ones I like, but they're like a short list of ones that I truly love. So I guess I hear you.
I think it's Armageddon.
This is one of my favorites. I try to be realistic and
Sorry. Let's start with CC was talking first. So
this is one of my favorite movies. But of course, if I'm making a list, I'll try to be realistic and pull it back a little bit. Maybe it's in my top 10 or 15. I wouldn't put it all the way down at 47.
Connery's great in this, though. I will say that.
But yeah, this is an easy go-to, just entertainment movie. If I want to just have fun for a couple hours, I'm going to put this one on.
And Six is informing me this is from 2021, but they must have re-promoted it again because it just popped up on my feed the other day from the Rolling Stone website. So I was like, yeah. But anyway, that being said,
is there anything in the last couple of years that would really change it?
Maybe Spider-Man: No Way Home, I think, might deserve a spot on there.
I would keep superhero movies out of this.
Yeah, again, but if you're not counting superhero movies action-wise in the last 2-3 years,
even though I don't like it, I probably would say Top Gun. People would say that, and
if you consider that an action film, yeah, I guess.
I don't know if it is or not. I just say people like that. Like someone just put Maverick in there. So. John Wick.
Well, the original one's old enough to be on the list.
Mm-hmm.
So the only one that would be part 4 probably, and that'd be it anyway.
Right. Yeah. Nobody. That was a good one.
That might be another one that I would consider, but I don't know if that's top 50 material.
No, yeah. I got you.
But no, yeah, I can't think of too many in the last couple of years unless somebody can throw one out there in the chat, maybe. Then we got Taken, number 46. I mean, I'm not a big fan of this series, but they were pretty influential.
That's a little low. I kind of like the first one a lot.
The first one is probably the best of the lot.
The first one was made because of that speech on the phone. That was the only reason it got made. Like everybody else was like, there's no reason. Why should we do this? We got 40 versions of this. And they said, listen to the speech he gives over the phone. And they read it and they're like, oh yeah, we got to do this.
At that time, I don't think I've seen a film where there was that plot of, because we always hear about the traffic. No. We always hear about the, human trafficking stuff. But in this case, they screw up and take the daughter of an ex-super agent type dude. I mean, I don't know if I've heard of that anytime.
Didn't Schwarzenegger do a similar film?
Hollywood pays attention to. They only look at it from the superficial aspect of, it's a guy with a gun. That's it.
Oh, no, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the story plot of it being, his daughter gets taken. He just happens to be this retired super agent or whatever. And goes out to the,
No, that's the irony that the audiences gravitated towards.
Yeah.
But like Taken was pitched from like 2001 to 2006 and nobody would buy it because they just didn't like the concept of, it's a guy with a gun movie. It wasn't until one of the producers actually like sat down and read, that first 10 minutes and then they read that speech he gives over the phone and he's like, oh wait, this is so different. And then it was made. That's when Fox finally decided to pull the trigger and make it. Yeah.
I think the appeal though was that whole point about him being, he's not on some mission, he's just his daughter, it's personal type deal.
The bad guys kidnapped the wrong woman.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, it's a great fantasy.
That's the new part of the concept.
It's like a father power fantasy. Like because how many of you if someone did it to my daughter, I beat it. And in reality, you can't probably track one down like this dude does and all that stuff. So yeah.
Also, Liam Neeson really sells it.
He does. This is low.
Yeah.
This is
Jason
low.
Webster's top 5 favorite action films of all time are, thank you for the Australian 10, First Blood, Cold Eyes, Raiders of the Lost Ark, No Tears for the Dead, and The Villainous. Well, we'll see how many of those actually wind up on this dude's list, Jason, and thank you for the support. But yeah, I got to agree with you, Clobby, especially considering I just watched this like a week or two ago.
I love this movie.
And I'm not really familiar with the original show, so I can detach myself from that.
Yeah, it was a great show.
Because it was one of those shows that just didn't live on in syndication for some reason. I don't know if they just didn't have enough episodes or what the deal was.
True.
It just didn't. It just wasn't. So I didn't grow up with it. And when I saw this movie, I was reminded this last week again how much of a thrill ride this was. And not only that, you're reminded that this is pre-CGI. And the stunts that are in this movie are amazing. And the train sequence alone is amazing, where they have the crash, because it's all practical effects.
I think the train's still there, actually.
You know,
it might be.
You know how they say that life is full of exceptions? This is one, because I'm from the biggest hater of all remakes, just almost unreasoning hatred of anything a remake. This is one of the ones I make an exception for, even though I like the TV show. I love this movie. Yeah.
I want to see the show. I guess it had 120 episodes, so that doesn't explain why it never made syndication.
That last episode was until the MASH last episode came on. It was the biggest, highest rated, like TV episodes ever.
I've never seen even one episode of The Fugitive.
Oh, you should check it out. It's an old school United Artists television, and I think that's why they never got the syndication deals, because UA didn't really have much means to sell rights for syndication.
It wasn't Quinn Martin, was it?
Quinn Martin Productions. Yes, it was. Quinn Martin was one of the co-producers of it. Yep.
I say Paramount owns it now in the end. I know that, but yeah.
Does it show
what?
Is it on any streaming service?
Yeah, there's.
Or no, it's Warner Brothers. I'm sorry, Warner Brothers.
But I think Quinn Martin produced it though originally. I think it's on Pluto or something. I was flipping one of those, free streaming services recently and caught a couple episodes.
Warner Brothers did the movie, but I think Paramount owned the old TV show, because for some reason I almost literally bought the show here not too long ago, but it was DVD only, so I'm just kind of holding out to see if they do a Blu-ray run of it. But I'm pretty sure it was Paramount on that, but Warner Brothers did this movie, so yeah.
But
so CBS must have showed
production.
it.
Well, it aired on ABC.
It was on ABC,
or just wound up under CBS's purview anyway.
Right.
Yeah, I think so, because, I remember they did VHS releases of certain episodes, because that's how I first saw it before the movie came out. I saw VHS episodes of The Fugitive, black and white ones. I remember now. Paramount had it in syndication in the early 2000s, but it was on one of their, not their main sections of networks with CBS at the time. It was one of those the smaller ones. God, I can't remember what it was, but that they had that in the early 2000s. I saw that. I remember catching that show when I was interning at Paramount back in the summer of 2006. So
yeah.
And this would explain why I probably didn't see it if A&E had the rights to it for that long.
Yeah,
I didn't have cable, like extended cable, until I moved out of the rustic area I lived in as a kid in the early, like late 1989 or so, or 88.
Right.
And then I finally got real cable, but at that point I was just enthralled with MTV and Nickelodeon. So like A&E was like not even on my friggin' radar.
It was one of the go ahead.
We never even got A&E in my main area around here, and then we moved back. It wasn't until I got satellite that I would see A&E again. So that was years later. Anyway,
this was one of those shows that today the plot wouldn't work today, impossible in today's times. But back then, it was a bigger world, and the communications wasn't the same way, or any of that technology, and so.
Yeah, forensics evidence.
Do it now.
Forensics evidence. It would have to have been a conspiracy as opposed to two people.
In the movie, it kind of was. Remember in the movie, and in the movie, it was a conspiracy. Yeah.
Yeah. Tim Daly tried to do a reveval of The Fugitive.
There was one. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, that's right.
But no, I mean, if you were to try and revive that series today, it would have to be basically like a bigger conspiracy than what we've even got in the movie with Harrison Ford and Tommy Lee Jones. And you'd have to give it some legs so that could run for a number of years.
Well, it works so well, especially the way the movie plays out. The only complaint I had about it this time when I was watching it is just because it's such a breakneck movie. the bad guy, the main bad guy, they don't really set him up too well in the first half of the film. He kind of is a character that starts getting thrown in the second half. And I mean, it works for the movie, but I mean, in a way, I mean, like, I'm also thinking like, man, maybe they would have telegraphed it a bit too much, but they just don't really give us much of his life at all prior to the, you know, because the movie starts with him in court, right? And some flashbacks and stuff. So like, that's my only complaint is like, we just really don't get an idea of what his life was like before, but we kind of do throughout the movie through the things that he knows, you know, and he figures out, well, if this guy had a prosthetic limb, it's got to be on record somewhere. So he uses his knowledge of the, you know, the medical industry to find that, you know, there's ways that they work it in there throughout the film. And this is just a very excellent movie. And I'm glad it's on the list. It should be much higher though.
It's a lucky movie because they were shooting it incomplete at the time. It was during one of the eras of Warner Brothers where their head of film production did not know what they were doing because they were putting movies into production that didn't have a completed script that they just had a release window for. They're basically making the Disney mistake today back in the early 90s. The only reason that they didn't flop as terrible as Disney is because they still got people with talent and skill and experience to make this work.
Yeah. And yeah, this was a huge movie at the box office. It even got Oscar nods. I think this is the one Tommy Lee won his Oscar for. Speed belongs on the list.
I think it's a little low right there.
Little low. Because I mean, Speed was the only Die Hard on A that transcended that.
That transcended Die Hard,
yeah. Because everything at that point was like, oh, it's Die Hard on a boat. It's Die Hard on a train. It's Die Hard on a bus.
Die Hard on a bus.
Well, instead of being Die Hard on a bus, it actually had its own gimmick, which kind of transcended that genre. And that was the whole idea of you can't go below. And it was just so brilliant of how it was done. And you got Dennis Hopper, who is just chewing the fucking scenery as this bad guy. And he is amazing in it. And of course, Keanu Reeves. Yeah. I mean,
but also the most unbelievable of
Sorry,
premises, because if you ever spent time in LA, you'd never be able to make it above 50 miles an hour in any form of
that was something. That was part of the challenge.
That is why it's fiction.
Exactly. That's why everybody's like, well, if this ever happened in LA for real, and the guy set it to 50 miles an hour, we're fine. We're lucky.
You never get up that fast. Yeah. What were you going to say, Bryce?
That this was a game changer in Keanu Reeves' career. I mean, until that moment, you didn't know what he was going to do because he had a few movies. He had Bill and Ted. Maybe he did Point Break already, but it wasn't clear what type of actor or where you're going to see him. And this sort of showed that he could be an action star, which wasn't obvious before this movie. And I think it really opened a lot of doors for him.
Yeah.
Well, it was the beginning of his second phase. Is what I call it, because you had the original phase, which was, you know, like Bill and Ted, Parenthood, Dracula, as you said, the other one,
Point
Break, and then this put him on a whole new level, like you were just saying, and then from here he was just basically making Speed clones for the next few years, and then he kind of fell off, and then Matrix really re-brought him back, and we're like, oh yeah, we like Keanu Reeves. I mean, it didn't seem like there's that long of a gap, but back then 5 years was a long fucking time in movie years. People forget that. Like now that seems like nothing, but back then that was a long fucking time in between. And he even said no to Speed 2, and everybody's like, you're crazy. And
that was terrible.
I'm saying no.
Bad movie.
That was awful.
Wonder Woman's on the list, so there goes the superhero bit out the window.
They don't need to put superheroes.
They
movies
the
on
shot
there.
of when Gal was pregnant. Nice.
Yeah, I don't think this should be even remotely on the fucking list.
It's a different genre. It's not the same.
Even still, I thought it was a piss poor Wonder Woman movie. And 20 years from now, when we have 3 better Wonder Woman movies, we'll look back at this one and say, she deserved better. I'm sorry.
I don't even. Anything to say
People
about
are too rose tinted on it right now because it's the only one.
Even if I liked it, though, I'd say it doesn't belong on this list.
There's a few modern movies on this list that are there for the purposes of having made the list. You know.
Yep.
It's like,
and CC knows where I'm going with that. This is one of the things I wanted to get to this list because it's like, does this really deserve to be on there?
No.
Mm-mm.
I enjoyed it. I mean, I don't know if it should be on the list, but I went to the theater to see Wonder Woman, and I didn't mind it. I thought it was pretty okay.
I'll give it this. Like the first 2/3 are good, but that last act completely falls off a cliff, and that for that
Agreed.
reason alone, it shouldn't be on this list. But Wonder Woman
Agreed.
should have had 3 movies by now. That's the other problem. Hero, yeah, okay. You're gonna have a few Jet Li movies on here. I guess this is as good as any.
Mm-hmm.
It had an impact.
Yeah, it did.
People
That's
were
true.
aware of it. If you're going to pick the
It
one that
was-
everyone can name,
Yeah,
and maybe they saw it when it came out.
yep. I agree. So it's probably rightfully placed, and it's good that it's in here. La Femme Nikita. This is probably a good example of because the movie itself spawned a series and a whole kind of genre in and of itself of the lady the lady spy, or whatever you want to call it.
Wasn't there an American version with Bridget Fonda?
Mhm.
or something?
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
And then there's a TV series that
That's what I was saying. Yep.
I've
TV
also
show.
in the early 2000s that I worked a couple days on in set and PA, but
Yeah, this had a big impact on that era of leading up through like things like True Lies and whatnot, I would say. And Long Kiss Goodnight. I mean, I think she even had probably a strong influence on how I know Black Widow was around before her, but I'm sure that had to have had an influence on her character a bit in the comics. Clobby would know more about that than I would, though.
What about
well, it
Like
depends if
pre-
Luc Besson was aware of her. That's the thing. Luc Besson.
Like, yeah,
was
how much
aware-
how much was La Femme Nikita like Black Widow, or how much did Black Widow become more like La Femme Nikita after the fact? I was wondering which one was kind of more influential on which.
Oh, I think they did kind of take some things from from her from that character maybe later in later comics that I didn't read much of the like in the 2000s for Black Widow. So yeah, I think you probably.
Okay, so you're saying that they probably would have been more influenced by. Okay,
Yeah.
that's kind of what I was thinking.
Hey, too low here.
Oh, way too low.
Hey,
This
come
should
on,
be.
man.
This is like top 20 easy.
Easy. Warrior.
Considering Hill should have at least a few movies on this list. Yeah.
Yes. No, 40. Come on.
I saw in the chat someone was asking, are there any older movies on this list? It's funny because when Rolling Stone comes to music, anything after the 80s, they just ignore it like it doesn't exist and it's no good. Well, on the movies list, they're ignoring the old ones.
Yeah.
Sort of. Yeah. This is one of the older ones that made the list. And the sad part about the Warriors is that I think it would have been a much bigger hit had they not pulled it from theaters over stupid reasons.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
True.
Because it was making bank. And when that 4K was announced, man, everybody got all hyped up on that, man.
Did you buy that stupid comic book version of it?
Oh, that's the only version of the movie you can get.
I know. I have that
in the US.
on,
Yeah.
on the disc. Yeah, it's the only one you can get unless you know someone that has
Or import it. No, yeah.
import.
Yeah, I hate that.
But the new version is coming. In fact, it's weird. I have it right here.
That would be the theatrical version, the proper theatrical version. Yeah.
Yeah, this has both versions in it. This is the Australian import version of it.
They're gonna do it over here.
It has 2 versions of it. Well, the new 4K that's coming out here in a few months will have both versions. Or in a month, or this month, or whatever
I want
comes
that
out.
old one. Damn old version. I don't like what they do.
Yeah, it'll have they're going to have that now in the newer release that's coming out here.
Never saw this one here.
Atomic Blonde, I have it, but I haven't seen it. I don't remember, doing all that much.
That's even
worse.
worse.
Again, yeah, why is it on the list? The Mission, I'm not familiar with this one. Let's see who wrote it.
Me either.
Or Michael Mann, or is an answer to Michael Mann. I've never even heard of this.
No, this is off my radar too.
Yeah. All right, Predator's on here, but way low.
Whoa, that's low. That's low.
That's low.
And 3, 2, 1, the chat goes wild.
Toxic male.
37.
Here to the top.
37.
There
Yeah.
it is.
There's one already.
Definitely low.
Yeah, Neil's all pissed. And I seen a few people say in the earlier part something about they're still on Atomic. Oh yeah, see, there's still people talking about Atomic Blonde. Here we go. What? Easy top 20. Whoa. I knew it. Okay, so we're on a little bit more than a 5-second delay. Oh my god. This list is ageist. Bunch of Barbie lovers. Oh man, they're pissed. They're pissed.
Well, this is right before Barbie came out, so yeah.
Yeah.
This
What
really
the fuck?
this really discredits a list, though. How could this be 37? Really?
I mean,
Well-
there's only one Schwarzenegger movie that I would put above Predator,
Terminator.
and that would be Terminator 2. Not even Terminator 1, Terminator 2, because that one's got more action in it. This one is his, aside from Terminator, is his iconic movie, right? Like,
Mhm.
and it has action. I mean, balls to the wall action.
They're probably gonna have Commando over this, and that's not better than this.
Well, I think that's the one I was thinking of earlier, where I said, didn't Schwarzenegger basically do a movie like Taken already? I think that's Commando, wasn't it?
Well,
Where they kidnap his daughter?
there's a similarity that they do have his daughter, but
Yeah, but they do
Yeah.
that deliberately because they know who
Okay,
he is, as
yeah.
opposed to the.
It's been a long
Yeah,
time since
they-
I've seen it. Yeah,
but they don't know who Brian Mills is. They think he's.
I
they don't
actually
know
just
him.
imported the director's cut because I hadn't seen it in so long.
Yeah.
Also,
They
the
wanted
tone.
they kidnapped the daughter to get Schwarzenegger to do a mission that he didn't
Right.
want to do. Right? Yeah.
That's right. Okay.
The tone of the Commando one is also very different. In Commando, he's telling one-liners, and it's kind of fun somehow, whereas the Taken one is very serious.
Yeah.
Speaking of
It is.
one-liners, yeah, Predator has so many one-liners. You son of a bitch. You are one ugly motherfucker. And speaking of Point Break,
Oh,
it's on
Lord.
here, and it's probably rightfully placed. I don't know if I'd put it much higher than this.
I think that this is fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say this is a fair placement. Another, I don't know this one. 5 Deadly Venoms.
Oh.
I don't know this one.
I haven't
Looks like
seen
an
this
older
movie in
kung fu movie.
ages. Yeah.
It's definitely not a Merchant and Ivory film.
He's really trying to show off his
Yeah, he's reaching.
foreign knowledge.
Like I wouldn't have
Mhm.
remembered this film unless I saw it on this list.
Yeah, because there's a bunch of kung fu movies I can think of before that.
Oh
Okay,
my
The Great
God,
Escape.
that's way too low. It's not really
But
an action
yeah,
film. It's a great movie.
yeah,
It's an action
I don't know.
film.
Yeah, there's a few action sequences, but
Not many, other than the chase.
yeah,
Yeah.
at the end, yeah.
One of my all-time favorite movies. I don't think I put it in this category, but if I did, it would be higher.
I mean, I consider it more of a war film because that's its own
It is.
genre, right?
Exactly. It does this. There's the chase scene. Steve McQueen riding the bike. That's pretty cool. But there's no war scenes even, and there's no
Right.
shootouts or fights.
And then
really,
they pick
so-
one of the more lesser action sequences. What the hell is this? They should have had the motorcycle here, at least if they're trying to sell it.
Right, this was a great scene, but yeah, it had nothing to do with action.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah,
I agree
this-
with you. It's a great film, but
Yeah, that guy's weird. All right, this doesn't belong. I mean, look, yeah, it's wall-to-wall action, but it's superhero stuff. Get it off the list.
I mean, I disqualify it on that grounds, Clobby, if you're going to excise superhero
Yeah.
films off the list.
I
But
am.
the end fight sequence was something we'll probably never get again. So
Oh,
that
it
I
was
can
beautiful.
see.
It was lovely. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah. Total Recall. Here's the one that hit bigger.
That's-
I mean, this is should be on the list, and this is probably about where I say it should land.
that's fair. Yeah.
It's a fair.
Good movie.
I mean, I have my own preferences, but I can see why it's here, and yeah.
I consider it a
well
bit more of a sci-fi than an action, but yeah.
Yep. There is this. It's a
CC,
bit.
you
It's
don't
a
like it?
hybrid. It's a hybrid. You don't like it, FCC?
I love the movie. They're just like, if I had to pick between the Arnold Schwarzenegger catalog,
Predator.
there are ones I prefer.
Yeah.
Oh, this is one of the higher ones on mine.
Well, there could be more among there.
And I think it's
But
one of
yeah,
his
there
bigger
is-
hits besides Terminator 2, if I'm not mistaken.
It's a great movie. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
Not that I'm trying to change your mind or anything, CC. I'm just saying. Yeah. Then we got Goldfinger. I was waiting for
Greatness.
Bond to show up eventually.
Goldfinger. Greatness. But there's a lot of Bond movies you could put on here. If it's probably everything.
Yeah, but that's the thing. You're going to overpopulate it with Bond films.
Yeah.
Train to Busan. Now, I haven't seen this, but a lot of people have brought this up, so I'm all right.
Yeah. I loved it. I mean, certainly it's different than what you get out of Hollywood right now. Maybe that'll color my opinion, but yeah, I mean, it was, you know what? It I cared about the characters, so I can give it that. You know, it was really a great kind of study on how people, what their priorities are, you know, as like, like, what is the first thing you're going to protect when your life is on the line, when you don't have food, when you don't have shelter, when you're not safe. I think they played on that well. It was definitely also anti-corporate. There's a lot of that messaging.
Godzilla was barely in it.
Wow.
Yeah. There it is. Godzilla was barely in it. That made me laugh. Yeah, I haven't seen it. Sounds like you might be the only one, CC, who saw it. So, yeah. I've heard people talk about it.
You know, wow. It's deserving of praise, whether or not it's the 30th best of all time, you know, but it's deserving of praise.
Now, this is the one time I'm going to say this because I don't think it did. I don't think Return of the King made it on the list.
I love this movie.
The Two Towers. Two Towers is my favorite of the trilogy, but I would have to say that the bigger action sequences are in Return of the King.
True.
So this
has to be the big ones. But isn't I consider action to be a genre that this doesn't quite. It's like,
yeah, this is fantasy lore. So
Total Recall works because it's just as much action as it is science fiction settings. This, however, doesn't fit in strictly in action film terms that I would call. To me, an action film is it takes place in the, in a normal setting,
modern-ish setting.
It has action between people without nothing supernatural necessarily involved. Like I said, you make exceptions for stuff like Total Recall or Predator, but.
Well, and the reason I would for those is because the other thing that I would put under to add to the things you just said, Klobby, that make an action movie, I would add an action star.
Right.
Whether it's John Wayne, Clint Eastwood, Steve McQueen, and that may be where I'd give, The Great Escape maybe a little bit of a pass, but I would put shit like Bullet and sit on here before I'd put Great Escape. Yeah. Like, what the hell is that doing?
I mean,
like,
is this
where you
movie,
get the modern age is like more like Schwarzenegger Sly, but anyway, you're saying, sorry.
Is this movie about action? Speed is, Die Hard is, Lethal Weapon, so on and so on, and even the Bond film, primarily what you're selling is action. It's adapting a classic story. Yeah. It's a lot more to it than that. So, yeah.
The only reason, and I said I would accept Return of the King just because it had the grander action sequences, and I could see they probably make the point that it has this is where the first time they use that technology for the wars, probably. That's probably what I haven't even read it. I don't give a shit. We're just going to keep going. Edge of Tomorrow. I think this would be lower on the list. I'm not even sure if it's.
Never seen it.
I've seen it, and the only reason I'm kind of going on it is because it's one of those movies that the audience refused to let die. So that tells me it is one of the few modern cult films we've got.
I don't know if I'd put it that high on the list, but it's a good movie. Yeah. I just don't know if I'd put it. It's amongst these great movies. I don't know if I'd put them together with this movie.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's a movie I'll watch multiple times. The final act kind of let me down a bit because I wanted them to be a little less generic about it than, let's go, blow up the enemy.
This is the bigger problem I have here. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead and finish, CC, my bad.
No, that's basically what I was saying. I love the movie, but I mean, and I love the bias. I'm biased to the premise, but the final act was just a bit too much like, let's go blow up the enemy based on what they could have done with it. So for that, maybe it's not 28th all time, but
I mean, it's a solid film, but like, this is my problem. Like John says here, above Predator. That makes me question this dude's fucking
no chance.
Cred, right? Like,
but that's the thing too. Is like this list is obviously choosing one movie per franchise. That's why they chose the Two Towers. But then like the Two Towers, particularly The Great Escape. If this is an all-time list, but it's not. It's an action movie list.
And they picked a movie like The Great Escape, which I love. It has not really any particular. Certainly no violence or in it. I mean, it has that chase scene. Oh my God.
Here's another one. Return of the Jedi is probably the most action film, if not actually The Phantom Menace. You want to give one of the Star Wars movies that's on crack going so fucking, or speed going so like nonstop action. It's The Phantom Menace.
This has a lot
Let's be real.
This has a lot of great action in it, but it's just, again, it's a Star Wars. I mean, if we're putting Star Wars films in there, if we're counting it, it's way too low.
Again, it's more sci-fi. What?
Did the guy mirror the image? on this?
I don't know. He may have, because it's in his left hand. I noticed that too.
It's in his left hand. He's supposed to have a bruise over his left eye.
Yeah, I think he did.
Yeah, but this is when it's right after his hand's been. No, right before.
No, he doesn't have a lightsaber.
I mean, right
after
before
that.
his hand gets chopped off. But yes, it is. So it's reversed.
I think it's flipped.
It is flipped, yeah.
But again, Empire has some of the least amount of the fucking action in all of the Star Wars movies. You have nothing happen for 2 hours.
Well, after the
I love the movie.
Yeah, the closest thing you have is a very brief into the asteroid field, and then they're hiding.
Yeah, the worm thing, yeah.
And then they're hiding for a bit.
And that's it. That's barely an action sequence until the final fight with Vader. That's it. There is no action in it. It's a great fucking movie. It's the best Star Wars movie, but that's not the reason I'm saying. But it's just
no. I hear you. Yeah, you're right. It's
that's why that's how the list was constructed, right? They're one movie per franchise, and they're going to choose and this guy's going to choose the best of the franchise.
And that's where I say,
no matter whether or not it qualifies.
It's not wall to wall. Really, actually, Star Wars 77, because I refuse to say that other thing. A New Hope is also not wall to wall when you think about it.
No,
right.
It's not.
Jedi probably has the most.
Jedi in the original trilogy and Phantom Menace in the second trilogy. And Phantom Menace probably of all of them. Because that movie is nothing but just nonstop fucking hits you in the fucking face with action until we get to the Senate, and then it's boring. And then it's back to the action. And we got to race. We got to do this. We got to do this. We got to do this. Oh, and then we got a war. Oh, fuck war. We got more shit coming at you. Come on.
You really should have your camera on so that you're slapping your hands, because it sounds like something else might be happening.
That's what I'm doing. That's George is just going, we're just going to keep hitting the audience. Just fucking Jar Jar, fucking everything. Just. What else can we throw in here? Faster, more intense.
Anyway, if you're going to have it on the list, it's too low, you jerks.
No, because let's be real. You guys want to know the truth. I love George Lucas, have a love-hate relationship with him. I guarantee you the movie he thinks is the closest to his vision is The Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
Guaranteed.
Yeah. Although he did have full control over Jedi, unlike the first two films. And
that is close to Phantom Menace if you think about it. It has no story. And I love Return of the Jedi because it has great sequences, but it's
rehash of the Jedi. Yeah,
just stuff happens until the end.
It's 1/3 of the movie, which is just Luke's little sub story. They do nothing with Han and Leia, which is unfortunate because you think there's a lot to explore there, and it's really set pieces in the Forest world.
Indeed.
I mean, you have the early. It's basically like 3 episodes of a show put together. Because you have the end of, or the second part of the cliffhanger from Han Solo in the beginning with the Jabba the Hutt sequence, which takes up a whole like episode itself. Then you have the middle episode, which is, Luke going to Dagobah, them going to Endor, figuring out all that other stuff, blah, 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 blah. Then you have the final sequence, which is the script doctor's talking about, which is the simultaneous taking down of the Death Star with the fight of Luke and Vader. So like that's the setup of the film, basically. Well, also the battle going on Endor.
Yepper.
Yeah. But then by the time you get to Phantom Menace, there's so much shit going on in every fucking sequence. Like I said, the only time the movie seems to slow down is basically the Senate shit and when they're trying to get to Jar Jar's place or whatever.
Yeah.
But even then, it's still in a action-ish sequence to get them there, right? So, like, yeah. And then, look, as far as action movies go, that's Phantom Menace, I would say, is probably the best action one. Adventures of Robin
too
Hood.
low. I love this movie.
This is probably just here because it's obligatory. That's why they put it on the list, and then they just said a fuck you to put it at number 26, Clobby.
I guess they're probably mad at me because I've been mean to their list. They said, let's drop it. But I love the movie. It's a great film. My Robin Hood.
Well, I mean, it's the quintessential one. It's the one that people forget that, look, this is the one that everybody kind of goes to and they forget to actually go back and look at what Robin Hood really was.
Yes.
Like, this is what Disney did. They just took this version and made a version of that.
True.
Yeah. And again, that's where I actually kind of hold a special place for the Kevin Costner one, because up until that point, there had been very little attempt to try and actually accurately depict the true legend of Robin Hood. And people were just copying this version. Even the Looney Tunes were copying this shit, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
Looney Tunes.
Oh, yeah.
Some BBC specials in the 80s, and
Yeah. Love it.
but influential as fuck. Want to talk about
Big
one of the most
time.
influential? It was kind of like the Star Wars of his time, I would say.
Errol Flynn was.
it
big
was.
stuff
It was
back
also
then.
broken up
Yeah.
into chapters too, so it didn't have a normal film formula to it.
Errol Flynn was big time back then. Captain Blood. You know.
Six just did some research. This motherfucker, that must be all he does for Rolling Stone is lists, because he is credited with 400 lists, according to her.
Whoa!
Jesus
Wow.
Christ,
Look.
man.
Is he a descendant of?
She says we should invite him on the Sunday show.
My name is Mr. List.
We'd obliterate his ass, man.
You'd think he'd make better lists after making so many of them.
Shit.
Yeah.
Well, this actually, like I said, should be higher. I agree with you, Klobby. Never even heard of this. The Villainous. It's a South Korean
either.
film.
I haven't heard of it. She's hottie.
2017.
But that's one of this one's super chatted by.
Yeah, someone did. Yeah, you're right.
I mean,
Well,
she looks pleasant.
Yeah, I'm all for her.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one that was super chatted to us. You're right, Script.
Yeah.
A couple
It's
times.
his favorite.
I didn't know it
Someone's
was that old. I thought it was new.
favorite. At this point, it was relatively recent when this was written. Yeah.
D-Bud Martin says he checked with Brian, and he said if the list isn't canon films, it's crap. Actually, I don't know if there's been a canon film on here yet.
Nope, not yet.
Nope.
That's bullshit. Zion 42 says Femme Fatale movies. Yes, I think that was in reference to the La Femme Nikita. Yes. Very much Zion 42. I agree. And thank you for the $1.99. But yeah. Maybe I'll check that one out. Fast Fire. Oh, for fuck's sake.
Mm.
If this is on here and Smokey and the Bandit isn't, I'm gonna throw something.
Hell yeah.
Not that I think it should be at 24 overall, but I've enjoyed the Fast franchise. I like car movies personally, and it was the best of the Fast franchise. If you're going to pick one movie from those movies for any kind of list, yeah. I mean,
But if like Tom said, if you're gonna pick a car movie, Smokey and the Bandit has to be in it.
I mean, yeah. If I was going to put a car movie on here, it's gone in 60 seconds.
The original or the remake?
Which one?
The one with Nick Cage. I would consider that for a top 50 for sure.
I put Bullet.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if you're gonna put a car movie on here, Bullet, because that was always the movie that everybody was trying to outdo. That was where the French Connection. They said, well, we got to do a chase scene as good as. God, now I got the hiccups. Bullet.
We can speed through the rest of this, dude, if you want.
No, big hurry. I'm not even sure if my competition's going to show up, so we'll see. I'm supposed to go on Mr. Burger's show here in a little bit for a mega trivia show.
Oh,
Up against Cecil,
oh,
music trivia.
nice.
And I mean, Cecil kicked my ass. We don't even have a rivalry about this. Like, he will kick my ass.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Like-
Man. You know your stuff. Come on.
He will kick my ass. If there's anybody who knows more about music than I do, it's probably Cecil. Like, I mean, he knows some obscure shit and, dance clubs and music like that stuff. Yeah. Anyway, this, I agree, should be on the list.
Yeah.
Probably pretty close to where it should be landed here.
That's fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay.
I don't know about just okay, but
A lot of fun.
it is. Especially the first part.
Yes.
Logan is on here.
Screw
This
this
is.
movie.
Is there even that much
This
action in
isn't even an
Logan?
action movie. It's
I
a
call this a drama.
drama,
Yeah.
boring
Yeah.
drivel. I don't like this one.
I didn't dislike the movie, but I don't know if I'd put it on this list where it's at.
That's what I'm saying. Is I don't know
Yeah.
if it
The
qualifies
action's
for
not
an
even that
action
great
film.
in it. I mean,
Shit, there was more action in the Wolverine Origins movie.
yeah,
Yes,
it
both
was
of them.
terrible. It was awful.
Yeah, this shouldn't be on here. Snowpiercer. Yeah, I've heard a lot of people talk about this one. Still haven't seen it though.
Neither.
Haven't seen it.
Yeah. Then we got Midnight Run.
Love it. That's a great movie. Now, it's an action film. It's more of
Is it
a.
an action? I don't know.
Not
It's a good movie.
There's action, but it's not like. Yes, it's so much more to it than that. But it's high up and it is a great.
See, wasn't this the same direct? Yeah, Martin Brest.
Martin Brest, yeah. Beverly Hills Cop.
I'd say Beverly Hills Cop was more action oriented, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, no, that's
Yes.
true. But they both were about characters and humor.
Yeah, they're both fairly similar in some ways.
I love this movie though.
Martin Brest is a strange director. He had a few great movies, but then he kind of just fell off the map.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. Of course, they had to put one of these Bonds above the other one.
Ugh.
Well, this is more like the Jason Bourne Bond. I think that's what he's using as a
True.
metric, which is really a bad metric to draw
True.
from.
Yeah, I mean,
I did like the movie out of all of Craig's. Sorry, Cece.
no, I was just saying the Bourne franchise is a clinic in how to not edit action sequences. That's another discussion, but
Yeah, I've only seen part of the first Bourne movie. I actually bought them real cheap for
Never
Black
watched them
Friday
either.
deal, but I haven't watched them yet.
This is not a Bond movie to me, but it's okay for an action flick. But I don't really like any of the Daniel Craig Bond. But it's not Bond to me.
Well, to Price's
James
thing,
Bond.
like maybe you enjoyed it because it was the only one based on any of the Bond books, or any of the other ones even based on any of the books.
It's just mildly entertaining as a film. It's just not my James Bond.
Have any of the Craig ones besides? I thought this was the only one that was based on any of the books, unless I'm wrong.
Oh, I thought you meant Bond overall. No, this is one of the few ones.
One of the
That's what I was going to say.
And it was the only good Craig movie, really.
That's what I was thinking. That's my point. So I was like, is that
Start
a
on the
fair
high.
assessment because of that? Yeah.
Agreed.
It's all downhill.
Because the rest of them are original films and not based on Bond books. So yeah. Mission Impossible Fallout. I think that's the one I would put on here. If that's the one where he's on the building.
That's the Henry Cavill one.
I think so.
Good
Which
one.
one
This
is
is where
that?
he actually he's legitimately.
This is the one
hanging from a
before
helicopter.
that. This is the one before that, right?
No, yeah.
No, the building
The
came
fifth
out,
one's
it was
my favorite.
Or that one, yeah.
Oh, so the one that we're looking at here is the Henry Cavill one, right?
Yes.
Okay,
was a
so
good
yeah, I
one.
didn't like that one as much, but I think it might have been on here because it does have more action in it.
Yeah. The big stunt was Tom Cruise hanging from a helicopter without any safety harness.
Yeah, and this
Where
is one
the
of the
Dubai
few.
one, he was on wires throughout the whole thing of that because he was climbing the Dubai tower.
Yeah. Maybe you're right. 'Cause I get those last couple they're like one long movie to me at one point. So like, trying to remember which one's which. So maybe this is the one I would put in there. Who gives a fuck? At least one of them's on here.
I do love
Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
I do love this movie.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd put it at 17, but yeah, okay.
Maybe not. But great movie.
Terminator
this is
2's
too
way
low.
down at 16 for some fucking reason.
That's ridiculous.
That's top
Low.
10, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd say top 5.
maybe. Yeah.
This should be like number 5, easy.
You're probably right.
Now this list get one way or the other gets really interesting.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Then we
Great
got,
movie.
Dirty
That is,
Dozen.
that is a great movie though. I love it.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd put it this high. I mean, well,
Yeah. Compared to some of the other things they have too high. I mean,
yeah. I'm
This is
kind of
kinda
surprised
fair,
this
I
is
think,
there. Yeah, because it was very influential. You're right, script. I mean, all the way up through the Suicide Squad, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's probably rightfully placed. Dark Knight. I mean, I guess if you're gonna pick a action of the Batman movies, it's probably
Hey,
good
but like
movie.
the editing of the action is terrible.
maybe, but it has like all the big action sequences in it because this is one that had the big truck and the
Yeah.
rollover and
No.
shit.
Oh, it's called Batman for Dummies.
I know you guys don't like it.
I
But
don't like Nolan's take on
yeah, I'm
Batman.
not surprised. Jackie Chan. I wish it was Drunken Master, not this though.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But this might have some bigger sequences. I can't remember.
He is great. So
Born Identity. Here it
And
is.
there it is.
Now here's where I think we're going to get in some territory of things that we're going to be kind of pissy about their placement. This is way too high, if it even should be on the list. I mean, I guess it deserves a spot just because of how influential, for better or worse, it has been on movies ever since. But way too fucking
Terrible
high.
way
editing.
too high.
I've always thought they're overrated, these movies. I don't hate them, but there's nothing that special about them.
I guess there was a real obsession. Maybe it was a sign of the times. I don't know, but a real obsession with this idea that action sequences have to be edited so fast with these like half-second clips and not and not necessarily make sense.
That kind of got
They're-
popular with Michael Bay. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just like the Bourne franchise really fed into that. It's like, no, show it, let us absorb the scene a little bit. Set it up and have it make actual chronological sense. The Bourne franchise just went ham with these fast, multi-directional cuts in the action sequences. Like, what am I even watching, and how am I making sense of what's happening on screen right now? It's anyway.
I noticed this guy, I think, has a little bit of a hard on for Doug Liman too, because I think this is the second or third Doug Liman movie on here. Anyway.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
11? Go
I knew you
ahead.
were gonna freak out.
Holy shit.
I mean,
whatever,
this
dude.
name is synonymous with action and adventure.
Oh my God. It's so influential. Whatever,
this has
dude.
to be in
11?
the top 10 of any list.
It'd be my number one, I gotta tell you, probably. But even if I can understand that it'd be everyone's number one, but man, top 5?
I can see the number
Wow.
one argument.
Mhm.
Wow. Just wow. Okay. It'll make the rest of the list pretty interesting.
Aliens. Now this is probably
Yeah.
more properly placed.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
greatness.
fair.
Guess nobody has any more to say about that.
Great movie.
No,
Oh my
that's-
God in
Oh,
heaven.
come on.
Oh.
This movie is not. This has no action in it. None. Except one dumb
Well,
CG scene at the ending. This movie is a piece of garbage.
This is
ruins the
above
character.
Indiana Jones, like above Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Oh my God.
You can tell this list has several movies from 2018 in it.
Yeah.
It's like
True.
the guy pitched it, and it's like, okay, you gotta add these a few of these modern movies
Holy
so
shit.
that we can advertise it.
For modern audiences.
You imbecile. It's not even one of the better Marvel movies. It sucks. It's a bad movie. It's really terrible. It ruins the character. I hate it.
And the audience goes crazy.
Oh my God, man.
F this list.
It checks the check boxes.
Oh, come
What an
on.
imbecile.
Blade, if anything.
Blade's 10 times better than this. This is not
Fucking
an
what
action
the
movie.
hell? If you're gonna pick one, if you gotta insert your ESG fucking quota.
Right. The biggest action sequence in this movie, Tom, is when the Dora Milaje kicks some ass and he's running around in a little CG looking panther in a chase scene that really looked terrible. Then he fights Killmonger in a really bad CG scene at the end. And there's no action. Get out of here with that. Idiot. Sorry.
This one wins.
Yeah. Oh, good Lord. I mean, it's not as bad as the second. It's not as
Even
bad
out
as
of
the second.
Africa is better than this shit.
It's not as bad as the second Black Panther movie, granted, but it's bad.
I'd put Ronin here, personally. I don't know if that's a
Robert
movie
De Niro?
everyone's familiar with. Yeah.
Robert De Niro. It's better than this. He was all right.
Yeah, I don't know if that's top 10 material, but I see where you're coming from.
No,
yeah.
Well, certainly, maybe not number 9, but I would put it in a higher range. I would put it on the list.
Seven Samurai, yeah, okay.
Greatness, probably low.
Yeah. Hard boiled, okay. This I'd put way lower on the list. It's another John Woo movie, but
Yeah.
The Matrix, number 6. Now this is probably rightfully placed somewhere in that region. Yeah, okay.
I could see
I
it
would
being
say it
top.
should be in the bottom half of a top 10. Yeah.
Yeah, it's some
Yeah.
top
Yeah,
10-ish. Yeah, that's really good.
It was one that kind of changed action movies. Here we go.
Okay.
It's a good
Now we're
movie.
talking.
Tough to argue with them.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely belongs here. But
The
then they
Raid?
got the Raid
What?
Redemption ahead of it.
Well, this should be just the Raid, right? Because or are they talking the Raid 2?
I don't want to panic, but I'm getting
Says
the
Raid Redemption 2011.
I don't
Yeah, so
wanna
that should be
panic,
the
but-
first Raid. That's what, because I guess the U.S. called it, had another movie called The Raid, so they had to retitle theirs The Raid Redemption.
I'm getting the suspects he's going to leave Gandhi off of this list. Just the feeling.
Well, we're getting to number one.
But the Raid has some really great action in it. I mean, there's a scene where a guy gets a fluorescent light bulb thrown into his neck.
Let me remind you some movies that haven't made the list yet.
Okay.
Terminator, Conan the Barbarian, First Blood, Rambo Part 2.
Any Rambo movie, yeah.
RoboCop.
RoboCop.
Yeah.
RoboCop.
And that's just off the top of my head. Highlander.
Die Hard, Lethal Weapon. Either one, yeah.
You want to talk about an action movie that transcends the fantasy part of its elements? Highlander. How the fuck is that not on here yet?
Other Bond films. Yeah, this is terrible.
Yeah, Goldfinger has been the only classic Bond film they had on here.
Yep. Silly.
All right, let's keep going because we only got 3 more. And of all those I just named, how many of those do you think is going to wind up on this list?
Not maybe one. If that.
Yeah. John Wick is number 3.
What?
No, this I agree, but it shouldn't be this high.
That high?
Not be this high.
Not this high.
Those movies are so overrated. I don't like them that much, but I get you.
I liked it, but I wouldn't put it on top 3.
Yeah, I mean, after about
honestly,
2 hours,
this would be one of the only modern action films I'd probably have on this list.
Somewhere in the 50, I guess, but about the 50.
That's what I mean. Yeah, it'd be lower in the list. You're right.
If you're one of the like 4,000 dudes he's just slaughtered, I'm probably gonna go. All right, yeah, God, I don't think I have a chance. I'm leaving, but they keep coming after him. And it's just like he says, "This is a video game." I don't know, but anyway, go for it.
Yeah, and Mad Max was another one mentioned in the chat. That's another.
Yeah.
Good one. Road Warrior should be on here.
3,
but it's not.
Of course not.
Number 2, Die Hard.
2.
Now this is one that I would argue should be number 1.
It's very good case. A good case can be made for number 1.
I agree with a couple of the other ones you guys said, but I digress. Where the fuck is RoboCop?
Where's RoboCop? Better be on here.
Where's First Blood?
Lethal Weapon 1 or 2?
Lethal Weapon. Yeah, what the hell?
Beverly Hills Cop. There's more of an action.
Beverly Hills Cop should be on here.
It's more action than some of these other things.
48 Hours, speaking of Walter Hill.
Great movie. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean,
this list is...
Look, I already know what number 1 is, guys.
Oh, boy.
And you ready for me to erupt?
It's time for number 1.
Fury fucking Road.
This guy's an imbecile. Doesn't even belong in the top 200.
I agree.
Piece of garbage. I hate
this is like a stunt. I don't know how to explain what I'm thinking, but this is movie. Just it's a stunt choice. They wanted to do some kind of politics or something.
And the fact that if 6 was brought up that this was actually made in 2021, this list, that hits it home even more. That this movie's woker than people remember.
This movie is garbaggio.
It is a proto-woke movie. This is one of the movies I bring up. People always point at, Fan 4 Stick and Ghostbusters. They forgot about this one.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I didn't back when it came on. I was screaming about that. I heavens, Mad Maxine Furiosa Road is a disgrace.
When it came out, I didn't know how to put words to it, but I was like, I don't like it because Mad Max is literally shoved in the back seat in the most.
He's a hood ornament. He's a hood ornament.
Why is he here? And this is just a poor ripoff of Road Warrior.
Yep.
Which should be on the list if you're going to pick one. Which
should be on the list.
Max movies.
And that's one of the only other movies besides Die Hard, or the other one that Klobby said earlier should be number 1. Which one was again? Remind me, Klobby?
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Raiders, that's right, yeah. Between Raiders, Die Hard, and Road Warrior, how is not one of those 3 the number 1 action film of all time?
And Road Warrior's not on the list at all, which is mind-boggling.
Died making Road Warrior, didn't they?
Yep.
And they were proud to do it. They're like, I might die doing this, but you better get that shit on camera.
They were like Klingons. I die for my...
Just make sure that camera's running.
It's all right. Furiosa's a safe space in front of the dome screen.
Oh, my God. And this, kids, is why we create a shit list every Sunday night at 8 o'clock. And yeah, we're going to be doing action movies eventually. And I think our list will be much better than this.
Oh, yeah. Yep, the French Connection, way better than that.
All right. Well, it looks like Cecil is over there, so I have to get rolling here.
All right, buddy.
But I want to give everybody real quick to round out here. Price, what do you got going on?
I just posted right before the show. I posted my review for Doctor Who, the third special with the by generation. So I think that's a good video if anybody feels like getting a summary of the episode and everything that's wrong with it.
All right, Clobby, anything going on?
Tomorrow night I'm doing my 700th show on YouTube, 1400th show overall, and that's just a big my wild card. Wednesday night I'm just gonna bake this kit back and celebrate a little bit, and then the usual stuff the rest of the week. The Clubhouse on Thursday nights and Saturday night Star Trek on, and oddly enough Saturday night. But thanks for having me, buddy. I appreciate it.
All right, CC.
I'll just reiterate Price of Reason's Doctor Who review video today is quite entertaining, far more than the episode itself. If you don't plan on watching the episode, but you want to catch a review of it, check his video out.
Thank you, sir.
Awesome. Script, anything you got going on?
Yeah, I've got a video on my channel arguing why superhero fatigue is not what you think it is and where the real source of that fatigue is from. Go check it out. And then I'll be on Price of Reason's channel Thursday to talk Quantum Leap. So be on the lookout for that.
Awesome sauce. And we got one from Jason Webster here, sends in another 10 Australian. Says that was Kim Oak Bin in the image. She is a great actress and a fourth Dan in Hapkido and a second Dan in Taekwondo. She did all of her fight scenes in The Villainous. Well, as I said, Jason, I may have to try to check that one out soon. I don't have Netflix anymore, so
looks promising. She does. She's looks good.
But we will see what I can do with that. And with that, we are out of here, kids. Follow me over to Mr. Burger's channel where I'm about to get my ass beat by Cecil and Trivia. There you go. And
fade in.
Take care of yourselves and each